Around 25 million people live in Southern California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Phoenix, Arizona. East Texas, which includes cities like Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, has an additional 25 million people. However, roughly 7 million people live in the huge expanse between these regions. This represents about 2% of the total population of the United States. So, why do so few Americans inhabit the desolate Southwest? A great expanse of the American Southwest lies beneath the empty Southwest, and the stark and rugged beauty of its desert terrain is at the heart of this region's topography. The Chihuahuan Desert is a huge ecosystem of shrubs and desert grasslands spanning Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Moving north, the geography changes to southern Utah, where the Colorado Plateau's high deserts and steep gorges rises. The terrain is stunning with the sculpted vistas of Zion, Bryce Canyon, and the enormous expanse of the Canyonlands National Parks. These locations are known for their spectacular rock formations, arches, and red sandstone panoramas, which draw visitors worldwide. The southern Rocky Mountains dominate the terrain of the South Colorado, where high heights give way to alpine forests and meadows. This high topography includes the San Juan Mountains and the Rio Grande National Forest, which contrasts dramatically with the neighboring desert areas. As the landscape shifts eastward, it encompasses the western edge of the Great Plains in Kansas and Oklahoma. Because of its fertile soils, this region, characterized by rolling grasslands and wide-open skies, has a history of maintaining big herds of bison. Water is scarce and crucial in this region, with the Rio Grande functioning as a significant river flowing through New Mexico and along the border with Texas. This river, along with other minor water systems, is vital to many populations and ecosystems and irrigation for agriculture. The vast Southwest is also a hotbed of geological activity. The Rio Grande Rift is a significant geological structure indicating tectonic activity that changed the terrain over millions of years. Furthermore, the region's topography features a number of dormant and extinct volcanic areas, such as the Valles Caldera in New Mexico, which demonstrate the region's fiery past. Human involvement has also changed the landscape, with large-scale irrigation projects along the Rio Grande and the nearby Hoover Dam. These projects have converted desert areas into fertile land and provided vital water supplies to rapidly growing towns. Climate change brings additional difficulties to the topography of this region, with higher temperatures, changing precipitation patterns, and the potential for more severe droughts affecting both natural ecosystems and human activity. The landscape of the barren Southwest is a mix of arid deserts, hilly terrains, and great plains, showing a long history of environmental adaptability. As we'll see, even with today's technology, adapting to this specific environment has proven to be a major difficulty. Before the modern states comprising the desert Southwest, the region's early inhabitants were complex cultures, noted for their cliff dwellings and elaborate communities, such as the ancestral pueblos. The Navajo and Apache peoples arrived later, particularly in present-day Arizona, New Mexico, and southern Utah, migrating from the continent's northwestern parts before settling in the region we know today. The Pueblo peoples descended from ancestral Puebloans and founded their villages along the Rio Grande and its tributaries, with agriculture as the foundation of their culture. The Ute and Comanche tribes ruled the mountains and plains, respectively. The first Europeans to establish contact with these indigenous peoples were Spanish adventurers looking for riches and expanding their empire. With the advent of conquistadors in the 1500s, Spanish colonization began in earnest, followed by missionaries who sought to convert native populations to Christianity. During this time, Santa Fe, one of the oldest continuously settled cities in the United States, was founded in 1610. Santa Fe is thus older than New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, and many other places we connect with the founding of the country. While the Spanish brought new animals such as horses and new agricultural practices, this period was largely marked by conflict with indigenous groups. The Spanish not only brought diseases that killed out many tribes, but they also established a feudal-like encomienda system that required native peoples' work and allegiance. Following the decline of Spanish dominance, the territory was taken over by Mexico after the country's independence war in the early 1800s. The Santa Fe Trail became a key trading route during this period, opening up the region to U.S. economic interests. Because of greater trade, the United States' interest in the region expanded, resulting in rising tensions and eventually the Mexican-American War, which Mexico would lose. Mexico ceded a large area of the Southwest to the United States in the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. This purchase, coupled with the Gadsden Purchase in 1853, laid the groundwork for American settlement and the carving out of new territory in the vast Southwest. The period of U.S. colonization was defined by the creation of forts, increased compensation, the relocation of native tribes to reservations, and the pursuit of riches such as gold and silver. Railroads entered the region, allowing for more migration and economic development. The modern states of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, and parts of Kansas and Oklahoma were founded from these territories. Arizona and New Mexico were the final states to gain statehood in 1912. Each state's journey to statehood was distinct, shaped by political, economic, and social issues such as the Civil War, the Mormon Church's influence in Utah, and the cattle and oil industries in Texas and Oklahoma. Despite the fact that the empty Southwest includes the entire state of New Mexico, half of Texas, and parts of Utah, Colorado, Kansas, and Oklahoma, the region remains very sparsely populated. The population of the barren Southwest is low, especially when compared to the busy urban areas of Southern California, the Phoenix metropolitan area, and eastern Texas. Although covering around 420,000 square miles of land, or 15% of all territory in the lower 48, the area is home to only 7 million people, or about 2% of the country's total population, less than the population of Dallas, Texas. However, there are several compelling reasons why few Americans would choose to live in this area. First and foremost, the climate of the desolate Southwest is important. Much of the barren Southwest is desert or semi-arid, with severe temperatures that can make human growth impossible. The scorching heat of summer is difficult to bear, but unlike Phoenix, Arizona, much of this territory is at a high elevation, which means it also gets quite chilly. These climate variations necessitate robust infrastructure and resources to make the location livable, such as air conditioning and heating, which can raise the expense of living in comparison to cities like San Diego, which has mild temps all year. Another major concern is water scarcity. The region has some of the most dry terrain in North America, with few reliable water sources. Major rivers, such as the Rio Grande, are vital to specific locations, although they are not present throughout the region. While the Phoenix metro area can draw from the Colorado River via vast aqueducts, towns in the arid Southwest cannot do so with the Rio Grande. Despite its name, the Rio Grande has a discharge of only 2,400 cubic feet per second, compared to 22,500 cubic feet per second for the Colorado River. This scarcity has an influence on agriculture, industry, and residential demands, restricting the ability of huge populations to grow. While the natural circumstances are favorable, the area has historically been difficult to colonize due to organized resistance and conflict by the area's indigenous tribes, particularly the Comanche. To maintain their country, the Comanche tribe fought ferociously against Spanish, Mexican, and eventually U.S. soldiers in the mid-1800s. This ongoing battle effectively hindered settlement in the region when the U.S. desperately urged people to migrate west. Finally, the region's economy has traditionally been dominated by oil, mining, and agriculture industries, which do not require significant labor forces like manufacturing or services. As a result, people have less financial incentive to relocate to the area. Furthermore, economic prospects in urban areas such as Southern California, Phoenix, and Eastern Texas, with diversified sectors such as technology, manufacturing, and entertainment, have pulled people away from the desert Southwest. Albuquerque, New Mexico is the largest city in the empty Southwest today, with a population of roughly 955,000 people. This is followed by El Paso, Texas, with approximately 868,000 inhabitants, and finally, Amarillo, Texas, with about 270,000 people. Santa Fe, the country's second oldest city and the only capital in the vast Southwest, has only 155,000 people. While all of this makes sense, if we look south into Mexico, we see many more larger cities in similar conditions. The proximity of bigger Mexican towns such as Juarez, Chihuahua, and Hermosillo to the southern border of the United States' barren Southwest region creates a sharp contrast in urban density compared to the sparseness of the empty Southwest. Several causes contribute to the development of these populous centers in Mexico, despite both sides of the border facing similar arid climates and physical constraints. Historically, the The colonization pattern in Mexico promoted the creation of urban centers as administrative, commercial, and religious centers. The Spanish colonial model centered on cities as centers of power, with major plazas, cathedrals, and government buildings. After Mexico gained independence, cities retained their significance as focal places for political and economic activity. Meanwhile, the United States was significantly more focused on resource extraction and agriculture, with goods moving back east rather than establishing major cities in the West. Furthermore, northern Mexican cities have served as strategic commerce and manufacturing hubs. The Maquiladora program, which constructed factories near the border, has played a vital role in urban growth. These companies draw workers from all throughout Mexico, transforming northern cities into thriving economic hubs. These cities frequently serve as trading hubs between Mexico and the United States, boosting their economic standing and driving population expansion in ways that American communities do not always experience. For this reason, we have cities like Juarez, with over 2.5 million inhabitants in their metro region, Chihuahua, with around 1 million, and Hermosillo, with about 900,000, all of which are larger or almost the same size as the empty Southwest's largest metro region, Albuquerque. The desert Southwest is a beautiful section of the earth, both spectacular and desolate. Those who have traveled through it can witness the large expanse of undeveloped land. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate your support.